Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. If for those that do not know me, I'm Brent Goldberg. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the city, and we did a bunch of these sessions last year with some of our community agencies to go through the process for requesting money because we changed it quite a bit last year from previous years, and we've changed it a little bit more this year. So this is really just kind of give you an update and to answer any questions you have. I'm not going to go through that much. I'm going to go through the highlights of what's changed. I think the instructions are pretty straightforward, and really it's more about answering questions if you have any. First of all, hey, will you go back, Chris, just hit the back button. It's a different place on the browser. Used to go to on the website, you used to go to council to get to all this stuff. So we've moved everything to the finance department on the website. So you got to go to the finance department and then click community agency support to get to the same stuff that you guys saw last year. The reason we've changed that, council, in case you missed it, council actually approved an ordinance a couple weeks ago to change the code a little bit for nonprofit funding. And it no longer even implies that council is responsible for funding, that it should go through the executive branch of government, and they simply approve it as part of the budget. Also, the one big change is that when we were going through everything with that code section, we realized that the code section was in conflict with state law. So our city attorney's office preferred that we change it to reflect what state law says. And that says that any nonprofit receiving funding from any nonprofit to be considered for funding from the city has to have an audit. So I know that most of the organizations we fund or have funded in the past have an audit, but there are a few that typically only get a review. So if you only have a review, you're going to have to change that to an audit to be considered for funding. And if that's cost prohibitive, we can try to put you in contact with some small CPA firms that we have contacts with that could perform an audit probably at a lower cost. So there's a couple of new CPA firms that are, well, they're not new firms, but they're trying to do some work in this area, and they've approached us, and this is probably a good opportunity for them and for you if you need a low-cost audit. One of those I actually have a meeting with, I think, tomorrow, just to talk about what they offer, and it's a minority-owned CPA firm, which is actually pretty rare in the CPA world. So we're pretty excited about that. It's called Hoskins and Company, and they are trying to do some more work in Chattanooga and could possibly help you guys out that need an audit. Other than that, there's really not that many big changes from last year. We still have all the templates out there for everyone to use, and we still have a place for you guys to report measures. For those of you who receive funding for this fiscal year, there's a form to fill out to actually put your measures on and report back what some of your measures are. So if you want funding if you already have funding and you want funding for next year, as part of your application for next year, you have to report where you are on your measures. And talking about the measures, we still have a little work to do on figuring out how we're going to collect and analyze the data that we get from you all. And we're in the process of doing that now. First step is for us to get the first set of measures from you all that were funded in fiscal 15. And then we're probably going to look at getting information from you twice a year. We talked about quarterly, but I think we're going to do twice a year. Probably once this time of year when we're starting to ramp up for the new budget season, and then once at the end of the year. All right, so if you go to this page, you scroll down a little bit, Chris. You can see that we've got all the instructions and forms out here. We've combined some of the forms into these nicely lettered templates. So there's an A section and a B section. The request for offers, you all know about those from last year. If you don't know about those from last year, if you're new, that's basically the forms that say these are the kinds of things we're looking for. So, for example, we'll have safer streets and things we want to see under safer streets, or Smarter Students and Stronger Families is a results area, and it talks about some desired outcomes we're looking for and possible strategies for you to follow. Those don't mean you have to do exactly what's written on those. It's just a guide to show you some of the things that are important to the mayor's office. Those will be posted later today, so they'll be out there under where it says coming soon. We'll have all those listed. They're pretty much the same as last year. We've tweaked them slightly, but overall it's the same results areas, pretty much the same desired outcomes with a few tweaks and a couple of additions. So, and we'll run through real quick what those are. There's safer streets, there's growing economy, stronger neighborhoods, smarter students, stronger families, and high-performing government. So those are the 5 areas that you all can request funds from. So if we click on the instructions, the very first one up there, I'm going to run through that a little bit. See, he's on the ball, already zooming it in for me and everything. So it's pretty much the same information as last year, a little bit different, a couple of different items, but the biggest difference is organized differently. We did that because we learned a lot last year when we got all this stuff in, and had to print everything out and manually sort it all and then manually rescan it to get it back. Because if you all remember, it was one PDF file, right? So it was actually the quickest way to do it was to print everything out, manually sort it, and then scan the stuff back in that we needed to send out to other people that were reviewing all the offers. So we've broken it up into 3 sections. The first section is going to be your agency cover letter and executive summary, and further down it explains what should be in the executive summary, but that's one PDF file. The second PDF file is all your agency data, so that's going to be like your charter, the IRS determination letter, audit, all those types of things. And I know that a bunch of you have turned in those same documents every year for like 73 years. But under, based on what's in the code and what's in state law, we have to ask for them every year. So I'm still trying to work on the city attorney to let us not do that anymore. But if we already have it on file, I don't see why you got to send it again, but currently you do. So maybe it's just to make sure you guys aren't being lazy about it. I don't know. And then the third section is going to be the offer packet. So that's the form where you tell us about what you want money for, how you're going to use it, who's going to do it, and what the impact is going to be, and what your measures are. So there's that form and then a few attachments, and we'll get to those as we scroll down. And you guys can read through this. It's all pretty self-explanatory. You still have to do your $50 fee. Just to be clear, it's $50 per agency. So if you have more than one offer, it's not $50 per offer, it's $50 per agency. And it tells you who to submit the fee to the CFO, Daisy Madison. And where is it? Does it say up at the top who to email everything to? Yeah, it's nonprofit requests at Chattanooga.gov, same place as before. So that page is good. Let's go down to the list of, here's the timeline. You guys probably want to know about this. This is kind of important. So we opened the process on November 7th. Really, we opened it today. But that was our goal, was the 7th. We're close. We're doing the education session today. So applications will be due January 12th. That is true. That's 100%. January 12th will be the day that they're first due. And then for those of you that went through this last year, there is a feedback period. So everyone turns something in, it gets reviewed. We'll provide feedback to you to make adjustments, and then you submit your final draft. We want the feedback period to be much more robust this year. We, not just for the nonprofits, but also for our departments. We realized after doing it last year that we needed to be much more deliberate and a lot better at the feedback during the feedback period. So that's why the timeline's a little different, because we've built in more time for the feedback, so it's more useful. So you basically have 2 months from now to get your offers done, and then you'll get some feedback, and then after the feedback you'll have 10 or 12 days, I can't remember, to get your final drafts back to us. So that final draft part's fairly quick, but for the most part, it's going to be tweaking what you've already done. So we didn't feel like you needed 2 extra months to get that done. So that's what the timeline looks like. Go on to the next page. Wow, man, like 43 questions on that. Katie. Mm-hmm. Just. Yeah, I would do December 31 unless you just can't, and then I would do what you can do. Sure. Yeah, our departments are doing that. No. Yeah, and if you don't have it all the way through December 31st, that's fine because you're going to report again at the end of the fiscal year. So, just get in, provide what you can. We just want to see where we are, and that's good. Yeah. I'm generous. Bunch of other questions? So, yeah, that's a good question. So your most recent audit has to be submitted on the 12th. So if you're a December year end, I assume your most recent audit would be December 2014. 13, not 14. Then all you need to, if you don't have an audit at all, then on the 12th of January, you should at least submit an engagement letter with a CPA firm that says you're going to have an audit and when. And then you'll need to turn in the audit before you actually get funds from the city. And we did that. Last year we had a couple who did not have an audit review or anything. So we did the same last year, if we let them get an engagement letter for a review. Till we were told it needed to be an audit. Any other questions right now? We'll do questions for like 30 minutes or so in just a few minutes. All right, let's go down and look at the list of documents. So this list out, the first section I think is very self-explanatory. It's just creating an executive summary. We tell you exactly what we want in it, the cover letter and the executive summary. So if we keep going down, the next section is all the documents we need in that other PDF file. So it's all the same stuff as last year. We want your agency-wide annual operating budget approved by your board. We want your charter. If the charter doesn't match your actual name, whatever the amendment is to make it match. IRS determination letter. One thing we haven't asked for in the past, I don't think, is the 990, but we do want to get a copy of the 990, which shows your continued compliance with tax exempt status, and then a copy of your most recent audit. If your audit's more than a year old, you need to get a new audit. If it's a year and a month, we can be flexible, but generally we want something within the past year, depending on when your year end is and all that stuff. What else is on there? I think that's about it. Scroll down. Oh, and it is important. We make clear, and it actually reflects this in the city code now too, that an audit is an audit prepared by a certified public accountant in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So, or generally accepted auditing standards. Sorry, because that has happened in the past. I think it happened last year. Someone sent us an audit, and they had a member of their board who's not a CPA just do an audit. And they sent us a one-page letter that said they audited it. So we made it clear that it is a real audit. Very resourceful. Other stuff's like a list of board of directors, and then there's the list of funding sources, beneficiary statistics. Those are all the same forms a bunch of you have done for several years, and they're on the website. You download them, fill them in, good to go. And then lastly is the offer packet, and that's the offer worksheet, which we'll pull up in just a second. And then there's a new form that's an offer summary, and that's for especially for you all that have more than one offer. It just summarizes all your offers together. So it's just an Excel spreadsheet. It's simple and easy. It just provides us with a summary because last year we had to make all the summaries ourselves. So why not make you do it? The budget specifically related to this, what you're requesting money for, and then we talked about last year that collaboration was required with city departments. That was interesting and went a lot of different ways. So this year, we're going to require you all to provide a copy of a letter from the department you're collaborating with. So our department heads know that you all are going to want to collaborate with them, and once you guys have met with them and tell them what you're doing and they are all bought into it, they will give you a letter that says they support it. That way we've got something in the file that shows that they're on board with it. So, and they'll have a template to fill out. So, unless you're wanting to do something crazy that they just absolutely don't agree with, it should just require you to meet with them and really talk through what you're doing. And then there's a list of all the actual templates, and those are the templates we have on the website. So, and I think those are self-explanatory as well. I have a stack of cards over there for people that need contact information. When you leave, you can take one. For people who need to meet to talk about some of the stuff, especially if you haven't gone through this process before, you can contact me and we can set up a meeting to answer more detailed questions if you walk out of here today with more questions than when you came. So the only other thing before questions, can you go back to the website? I want to pull up the worksheet because it's a little different this year. Yes. So this looks very similar to last year. Is that page 2? Yeah. Go back to page 1. Yeah, so it's very similar last year with all the information in the top section. I think it's all self-explanatory. There's some boxes to check that are, is it a current service funded by the city or not? And then section 2 is really where the biggest differences are. So we've kind of laid out how to, before it was kind of a free-form narrative for the most part. We've kind of laid out what sections we want you to fill in. So, we want a summary, any kind of, a needs assessment for what you're requesting money for, what are your goals and objectives, and then, how are you going to do it? And just kind of lay it out, like summary of the activities, timeline of activities, who's going to do it, is there citizen engagement involved, what does that look like? So we've just kind of laid out what the sections of the narrative should be, and you get to fill that part in. Hopefully that makes it a little easier. It might make it harder for some of you. But those are all things that the reviewers, wanted to look for in these. Scroll down a little bit, please. The budget section's the same as last year, and go down one more. And then the measures, I wanted to talk about this for a second. So every offer has to go to a certain results area, a primary results area. So Chambliss, for example, will 99.9% sure submit an offer for Smarter Students, Stronger Families. So their whole offer, Smarter Students, Stronger Families, for each measure that you have, and we're asking you to provide at least 3. You can do more, but at least 3. You have to say which result area it goes to. That may seem duplicative because you're already telling me that this whole offer is Smarter Students, Stronger Families, but it's possible that 2 of your 3 will be Smarter Students, Stronger Families, and you have a secondary measure that actually might help stronger neighborhoods or something else, or they could all be Smarter Students, Stronger Families. But the reason we want you to list it for each measure is because we can copy and paste all this out and put it somewhere else, so it's already filled in for us. So that's one reason, and to allow you to have measures in different results areas. So you have to list a results area and a primary desired outcome. The primary desired outcomes are listed in the request for offers. But if it's a desired outcome that isn't any of those, but you think it's like a really, really great thing, list that, because, you know, that's part of budgeting for outcomes is, you know, we don't have to come up with all the outcomes. You guys can come up with outcomes as well. But just know the reviewers are going to be looking for the desired outcomes that we've listed. That doesn't mean they're automatically excluding others. They're just, you know, those are just things that are deemed to be really important right now. Great ideas are going to get just as much attention. So I don't want you to think we're going to exclude it if it's something different. And then there's a description of the output measured. So if your outcome is to, I think this is one everybody can understand and then translate. So if your outcome is to reduce violent crime, right? That's kind of an overarching, violent crime can be homicide, a robbery, and aggravated assault. There's lots of types of violent crime. So the overarching outcome is to reduce violent crime. You may be targeting a specific output, like you may be targeting a reduction of aggravated assaults, which if we reduce aggravated assaults, we'll reduce violent crime. Does that make sense? Those are kind of the difference between the outcome and output as we've kind of set it up. So, you know, if an outcome is to increase literacy for children by the time they're in third grade, then you may be measuring an output of what they're doing in pre-K, you know, to read better or something like that. So I think you'll be able to see that. If you have questions on that, just contact me, and I'm happy to help. We want to know how often you measure whatever your output is. You know, I think most people do monthly for most things, but some people, you know, and this is mirrored after our departments as well, like Public Works, for example, they measure how much brush they pick up, you know, at least weekly, if not daily. So it could be daily, it could be monthly, it could be once a year, depending on what it is. And then there's a table for you to fill in for, you know, if you've done this for several years, like where have you been in the past, where are you now? So if you haven't done this, if you weren't doing this same thing in fiscal 13, for example, do you just put NA there? Okay, so that's everything we have out there. I think most of it will be easy for you all, so we can spend the rest of this time answering questions. Yeah, so I guess for us, our overarching outcome would be to increase literacy rates for the city, right, in general. So our YFD department's going to do lots of things geared towards that. If you get $20,000 to do something for that, and you get 20,000, and you get 20, I mean, all that combined, hopefully, will improve literacy in the city, right? So while you may be, you know, trying to get funding to contribute to reducing literacy rates in the city, or increasing literacy rates. I'm so used to talking about reducing crime. Increase literacy rates across the city, then, you know, you may target a specific neighborhood for that, a specific population, a specific age. You know, you may be trying to do that for a certain group of people or a certain area that would contribute overall for the city. Does that make sense? Right, no. Right. Right, and, you know, hopefully, you know, for the needs assessment area, you've got some type of research or evidence-based information where you can say, you know, a certain area of the city is completely underserved in terms of tools to increase literacy, you know, and this is why, and this is what we need to help. So, you know, I mean, and it could be geared toward geography or demographics or any of those things, um, just to help improve overall. It is. We go back to the website. So it is template A4. It's on the website. So that's just one of the forms you have to submit with your package for. So when you request funding for fiscal 16, um, and I'm assuming everyone that already got money is going to ask for more. I mean, that never happens. Never. It's never like, oh, we're good now. We'll go away. Um, so, and if we just don't, if someone actually doesn't ask for more money, we'll just contact them separately and ask for their results. But when you ask for more money, you have to tell us how you're doing so far with the money you got. And this form, yeah, if you want to scroll through this, I mean, it's pretty open for you to put information in there. I mean, it's laid out the same way. What's the result area? What's the outcome? You got a monthly performance, or you might do quarterly. However, you put that in there. And there's a huge section for comments. So we imagine people want to explain, why their measurements are the way they are, either good or bad or incomplete or whatever. And we're going to use this to see what you've done so far, create baselines. I mean, it's more, it's just as much a learning tool for us on what's going on. Budgeting for outcomes, this is one thing we've been trying to tell people is there's performance-based budgeting, which means truly performance-based budgeting means we give you money. If you don't perform, you don't get money anymore. That's true technical performance-based budgeting. We are doing budgeting for outcomes. It's a version of performance-based budgeting, but the whole goal of it is to create a new way of thinking about developing a budget for the city. And as agencies with support from the city, we want you to do it the same way as our departments do. But it's really about thinking about new ways to create a budget, to create performance measures for us to use to measure, but not to say, police department, you didn't reduce crime, we're firing the police department. I mean, you never really have true performance-based budgeting in government. It is to say, police department, you said you were going to do this. It's not working. What are we going to do now? It's really, it gives us reason, it gives us a tool to correct midway, to do a course correction. So, the measures you send us are not measures for us to judge you on whether or not you should get funding. It's considered, but, with that being said, we want you to give us the true measures, we really want to see, or we want you to say, we thought this was a great idea. We learned a lot. We've created all these great processes along the way, but that end result's just not going to get there. We need to do it a little bit differently. That's good. That's okay. That's what we want our departments to do. That's what we expect the agencies to do as well. Make sense? Yep. No, I mean, if it's three like really totally different outcomes, I would do separate because they're going to be reviewed by separate people. If it's a primary outcome with some other related outcomes that are different but related, I would do one. Especially to the extent that it's different results areas. So if you want to get money for, that goes towards safer streets, but also money for, increasing literacy. So if you've got one service or program you provide that will reduce crime and one that does improves literacy, those should be separate because those are separate teams reviewing. But if part of your crime reduction strategy is to increase literacy, that should go in the same one because you're primarily trying to reduce crime. It's not two completely separate programs. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I know. I really should just like make a number so I don't get 50 from someone. Um, no, it's there's not a limit. We don't have a limit for our departments. There's not a limit. So, I mean, I'll tell you though, not as for the people reviewing, you're going to be better off. The fewer is going to be better for you. Um, right, right. I mean, it's like anything else. Yeah, there's diminishing returns after about 3 or 5. So, the feedback from the city will be, I mean, true feedback from the review teams reviewing. To the extent that you all want to go to Ox or anywhere else to get assistance with creating your offer or anything, by all means do it. But we have teams set up by results area to review all the offers. A lot of your feedback for us is going to be, if it's a measurement that we just don't think you can measure, we'll tell you that, for example. But more importantly is we're ranking you against everyone else that's submitted to that results area. So you're getting ranked against other nonprofits as well as departmental offers. So, and to me, that's the more important feedback that we need to spend a little more time on is say, this is how your offer could be stronger in the ranking. Perhaps, you're telling us you want to do this, and maybe if you did this instead, it would be a lot stronger because to us, I mean, we're seeing everything more holistically, and we'll tell you about that. But if we know that youth and family development's already doing what you want to do, we're not going to duplicate efforts. So maybe you can change yours just a little bit to supplement what they're doing, stuff like that. Yes, and I mean I think we will send if when you send something in, we want to set up, and we're still kind of looking. We're looking at there being an automation component to when that email address when it gets it. It automates a reply and stuff. But if not, we will have someone will say we received this because there was some issues with that last year. We will increase the mailbox size limit for that email address. So, I mean, I want to make it as large as we can possibly make it because I just want 3 PDFs from you. If you have to break one up into 20, like that just messes up the whole process. We've talked about solutions for. We're just not there yet this year. I think next year we're gonna have a whole new system for automated online, you know, not 1997 type way to do it. But I think the best way to do it right now is still the email, 3 PDFs, and because that's just how we're set up. And last year we did have a few people submit to Dropbox, but it's because their files were just too large to come through. Excuse me, but I think we can set the mailbox to be big enough to allow everything. Probably right. Hmm. Yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, that we want that to be a major part of it because that was, and we did that some last year. But it had to be. We got a couple nonprofits send us like great offers, but it was stuff that, that YFD also sent in because they were all thinking about the same need and how to address it. And there was one, for example, where we said, "This is great, we love it. Somebody else is doing it. Why don't you do this instead?" And we funded them. But we'll definitely, yeah, that'll definitely be part of that feedback. That's why, and we want the feedback to be more useful, and really be more meaningful. Yes, yes, which should be public already if you're a 501c3. Hmm. Yep. There's no ceiling. I mean, the only ceiling we have is applies to our departments, which is $8 million. None of you should ask for $8 million. Um, the highest amount we funded in recent history is 350-ish thousand. It's so keep that in mind. I mean, it's kind of like submitting 20 offers, like submitting a $2 million offer is also um, there's diminishing returns at some point. Yes, it's in the budget document on the finance website. It's on a there's a whole yeah there's one page. It's on this finance website. If you go to the operating budget, there's an entire page of the budget that just shows the name of the agency and how much they got last year and the year before. Um, no, I would say. I mean, we actually had a big, like, longer than necessary discussion about that internally, about if there would be a minimum. But we don't. I mean, we don't really want a minimum because we don't want to discourage really good ideas that are low cost. So, you know, and plus, I mean, depending on the size of the nonprofit, you may only need $5,000 to make a huge difference in your operating budget, but also impact on your mission. So, um, no minimum, an $8 million maximum. Any other questions? No. Okay. What time is it? Oh, we still have time. We should like do something. I'm just kidding. Everybody's ready for lunch, I'm sure. And Darty will email you. No, I mean, yeah, we want to be helpful and we want to make sure that everyone has a good understanding of what we're expecting. We're all learning this as we go. That's, last year we talked about that, but, at the end of the day, we're all here to serve the community. So we got to figure out how we can best do that. Thanks.